Okay. So you see, my name Brandon is what they say. It's what they say. They say, they say my name Brandon. My name Brandon. You know, and you know, I was physically abused and sexually abused ever since I was a child. A child, and you can see in the picture on the screen my face, and how sad my eyes and my face looks. It's not fake, I didn't know way in advance that, I would have been abused and all of that. And, in the picture, it's a picture of me after a church day of going to church, and you can see how sad I look in the picture. And it was like, why you look so sad in the picture, Brandon? Being the youngest inside of a household, if a grown person sexually abused the butt of the youngest child inside of the household, a grown person sticking his thing inside of the butt of the youngest child in the household. And if I was the youngest child in the household and it was my butt which got abused, then since it was and it is, then it is why I look mad and sad in the picture. You see? Because I told. In elementary school, I told. When it happened, when I was in elementary school. And when I told, the lady who claimed to be in the mom of the household, she wanted the dude being a preacher or a reverend or having a church or something. And I don't understand why a grown person would be sticking his thing inside of a little boy's butt. And the crazy part is, being an elementary school student in elementary school, it's crazy. They said the dude was at least 10 years older than myself. So, if I was like in the 3rd or 4th grade, or was 8 or 9 years old when it happened, and he was 10 years older, if he was in high school or something like that, it's crazy that a high school student would have the attitude of he can't wait to get home so he can stick his thing inside of the butt of the youngest boy inside of the household. What kind of crazy attitude is that for a high school student to have? And, that's if he was in high school. Because, it seems he was grown when it happened. And the crazy part about it is, it seems strange that anyone would claim being married to a grown person who had stuck his thing inside of the butt of the youngest person inside of a household. It seems strange that a person would even claim being the mom of a person who stuck his butt inside, who stuck his thing inside the youngest person's butt of the household. This picture is not fake. And they say, is you mad, Brandon? Is you mad? They say, is you mad? They be like, who is they? You know, I don't know them. I don't know them. It be videos, it be voices, it be strangers, it be different people I've been and talked to in different places, you know, telling of why I moved out of the household I growed up inside of, you know. And they say, is you mad? Is you mad, Brandon? Is you mad? And you know, they say, you supposed to be mad, Brandon. And I said, I am mad. I am mad. Because I did not want them sticking stuff inside of my butt. Ever. You know? And the crazy part about it is, you know, the crazy part about it is some of the people when they be like, is you mad? Is you mad? Some of the people be acting like, oh, they not mad or he not mad. See, he don't kill. He not mad. You know, that's what they say some of the strangers be acting like. And they say, well, that's crazy. They say, you know, they said if a stranger was stabbing a stranger with a knife, and the stranger kept saying, it don't hurt, it don't hurt, it don't hurt, I'm not mad, I'm not mad, then the stranger would have kept stabbing a person with the knife, is what they say. Because if a person keeps saying, it don't hurt, I don't kill, I don't kill, then, you know, if a stranger was saying, it don't hurt, I don't kill, then the stranger would probably have kept stabbing the stranger with a knife, because if, you know, both of the strangers kept saying, it don't hurt, I don't kill, then the stranger would have said, well, the stranger was gonna keep stabbing you with a knife because you was saying it don't hurt and you was saying you don't kill, is what the stranger would have said. And since the stranger was saying it don't hurt, and since the stranger was saying he don't kill, then the stranger kept stabbing him with a knife because the stranger said it didn't hurt and the stranger said he didn't kill. And so, since I'm not the stranger, they said, did it hurt a Brandon? I said, yeah. Do you kill a Brandon? I do kill. And they said, are you mad, a Brandon? I said, yeah, I'm mad. I'm supposed to be mad. I'm supposed to be mad because I was sexually abused. I'm supposed to be mad because I was sexually abused as the youngest child inside of a household I growed up inside of. I'm supposed to be mad. I'm not supposed to be in love with being sexually abused as the youngest inside of a household I growed up inside of when I was an elementary school student. In elementary school, this when it happened, you know. And you can see in the picture, you know, going to church and stuff like that. With my little clothes on and stuff like that. They were like, why you look like that, Brandon? Your face look like you look like you want to cry in that picture right there. Well, it was like, you know, what kind of household it was that you growed up inside of? And it was like, it was a household where grown people were sexually abusing children. And I told, you know, and it was like, you know, it's crazy, you know, that grown people would have been sexually abusing children. And it was like, ooh, you know, what's crazy about it is that, you know, the crazy part about it is that, you know, you said the dude who was sexually abusing you when you was a child, somebody actually claimed to being married to him. Somebody actually voluntarily had sex with him. Somebody actually voluntarily had sex with a grown person who was sexually abusing a child. Somebody actually got pregnant from him. Would you have been mad about it? I was like, yeah. And they were like, why would you have been mad about it, Brandon? And I was like, you know, what would have made me mad about it was that, like, you know, if all of them strangers know that I was sexually abused when I was the youngest person inside of a household as a child, and then the craziest part is watching all of those strangers claiming when those strangers had claimed to being the girlfriend of the dude who had sexually abused me when I was a child. When those strangers claimed to being the boyfriend of the dude who had sexually abused me when I was a child. When all of those strangers had claimed being the girl who had got pregnant from the dude who had sexually abused me when I was a child. It was crazy because I was like, I was like wondering, like, so them people are sexually attracted to grown men who had sex with a child? And those girls, those strangers had voluntarily had sex with a grown person who had sex with a child? So, it's crazy because, it was like, doesn't it make you mad? It was like, yes, it does make me mad. And it was like, why does it make you mad? Why does it make you mad? It makes me mad because I don't understand why a girl or a guy or any person, would have been interested in sexually satisfying a person who had sexually abused me when I was a child. You know what I'm saying? And what it means is that, like, when a person claimed being the wife of the person who sexually abused me as a child, I think it's disgusting because every time she lay down or every time she with the dude or every time she had sex with the dude, she was having sex with a dude who had sexually abused me when I was a child. She was calling the dude sexy who had sexually abused me when I was a child. She was claiming being pregnant with the baby or the child of a dude who had sexually abused me when I was a child. They said she even named the children after him. And he didn't care. They said he went to the Philippines, to the country of Asia, something about a youth in Asia, and had another baby and named the child after him. He didn't care that he already had a child named Junior. He went and made another Junior, they said. And the craziest part is, it seemed like some stranger is still claiming being married to him, knowing that he had sexually abused the youngest child inside of the household because, I don't know why. I can't really say because I never had sex with anyone outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, And, it's evidence because, ever since I was a child, like this picture, looking sad in the picture and stuff like that. A lot of strangers would be saying, "What's wrong, Brandon? What's wrong, Brandon? What's wrong, Brandon? Why you look that way?" And I would always tell, I would be like, them people, was using the last name Johnson, those strangers, it was strangers. Because all of this is about strangers, because, I don't know them because those people are strangers, And it's crazy, it's the craziest part about the strangers is, it's like, if a stranger knowed that a grown person had sex with a child, if a stranger knowed that a grown person had sexually abused, if a stranger knows that a grown person had sexually abused the youngest child inside of the household that the youngest child growed up in, if a stranger knows all of that and still claim to being married to the person who sexually abused the child, it seems crazy and wrong. And it's the same way with anybody, with any stranger. I don't know anyone, who would voluntarily be claiming being in a relationship or in a marriage or in any kind of sex arrangement with a grown person who had sex with a child, you know, especially if, it is known that the grown person sexually abused a child, and it's crazy, whether you know the child or not, because this is about strangers, about strangers. I say, it's crazy, it's crazy, I never had sex, outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, and I never even really know what sex was, from being sexually abused, growing up inside of a household, being the youngest inside of a household, it was never a person claiming being my dad teaching me about sex. It was never a person claiming being my father teaching me about sex. It was never a person claiming being my mom teaching me about sex. It was never a person claiming being my mother teaching me about sex. When I was growing up, I never understood or knowed what sex was, being the youngest inside of the household I growed up inside of. And, the crazy part about it is, all I know was being a virgin. Because, they say every child, or even if you don't know them, because this is about strangers. So, they're like every stranger is born being a virgin. Because from the day of being born, a virgin, birth, means being born a virgin. And they say this is about strangers, strangers. So it was like, each time a stranger is born, the birth is called a virgin birth. Because the stranger was born a virgin the same way I was born a virgin. Because being born is being a virgin. Because being born, when I was born means I never had sex before. Because being born is the first, it's like being born is the first part of life, being born. So, they said there's no way of having sex before being born, which means being born is being a virgin from birth. Is what I was told and taught of being a virgin. They say that, if someone had sexually abused or physically abused me, and if I told, then it is not my fault for telling the truth of what happened to me. It's what they say, 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 you know what I'm saying? And like, who is they? Strangers. It be different thems and it be different days because since it's not the same person every time, and being strangers, and I never was the type of asking strangers for a name. You know, because I was never interested in knowing strangers in a most personal being. The weird feeling of being sexually abused in elementary school, being the youngest inside of a household, makes a person feel very weird and strange around strangers. And strangers would be strange people with strange ways of ways I am not, and it's crazy, looking at this picture the screen has, it's evidence, of ever since I was a child, I felt bad, because of all of the abuse did to me, you know. So, in elementary school, after being sexually abused, you know, more than one time, you know, and I told, of being sexually abused, and like I said before, the lady who claimed being the mom of the house was like, no, don't say that, because then the person who sexually abused you won't get a chance of being a preacher or a pastor of a church and stuff. And she wanted him to get money. Is the way that she seemed to have an attitude of, wanting me not to say nothing about it and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I don't want the hush money. I care about myself. You know what I'm saying? Come on, son. But if you be quiet, people would give you money and stuff, and you could do the same thing too. Like, what you mean you could do the same thing too? This is what those strangers was like trying to say, that you could do the same thing too. I'm like, what you mean doing the same thing too? And the strangers was like, if you didn't tell about being sexually abused and all of that stuff, it was some strangers and some strangers would have gave you some money and stuff. And they was like, no. Some other strangers had told me that it's called hush money. It's called when you didn't tell about the people who was having sex with children, and then strangers had gave them money for not telling and stuff like that. But then a lot of the strangers had came back later on and had said, a lot of the strangers had said that the money was not worth it, and a lot of the strangers wanted to tell, and a lot of the strangers had the attitude of telling of being sexually abused as a child makes way more sense to tell than taking the money and being famous and getting used and passed around from person to person. And then by the time you grown, everybody that had sex with you and then used you and stuff and don't really care and looking for the next person. There's a child, the next stranger, stuff like that, it's the kind of stuff that they say, It's like, they was like, they said, think of the strangers, Brandon. They was like, think of the strangers. It was like, think of the strangers when you was growing up. strangers. They were like, people on TV are strangers. They were like, some people call the people on TV famous. Some people call the people on TV rich. But it was like the people on TV are strangers. You don't know them. It was like the people in the movies are strangers. You don't know them. It's like, think about all the strangers, when you was growing up. Strangers would be saying that a stranger had a crush on a stranger from TV. A stranger had a crush on a famous person from TV. A stranger had a crush on a famous man from TV. A stranger had a crush on a famous woman from TV. A stranger had a crush on a famous lady from TV. A stranger had a crush on a famous person from TV, since the different genders and stuff. And it was like, well, think about when you was in elementary school, when it was people on TV and people was called cute and fad and sexy and all of that stuff, and strangers was interested in having sex with them. Now, that was like more than 20 years ago. A lot of the same strangers would not be interested in having sex with them no more. Because a lot of them strangers is old now. A lot of them strangers don't look the same way that they used to look. And a lot of people growed up and grow out of them ways. And a lot of people was like, a lot of strangers was like, glad to have never had sex with any of them strangers from TV or from the movies and stuff like that. They said that's what a lot of strangers were saying about being famous. What's crazy is if the famous people, from New York, California, Hollywood, the people who they said was rich and famous, if none of them strangers was ever your friend when you was growing up, it would seem stupid and crazy to get famous and then start hanging around people from New York and California and Hollywood and rich people when none of them people was ever there for you when you was getting molested as a child, or Brandon. They was like, what kind of fakeness would that be? None of the people from New York or California or Hollywood or from TV or from the movies was ever there for me when I was a child. When some grown person was sticking their thing inside of my duke. When some grown person was sticking their thing inside of my butt. When I was getting hit with switches and belts and sticks. From the sticks from outside called switches. And they was talking about giving me weapons and stuff like that with extension cords and, broomsticks. And the lady who claimed being the mom seemed like she had broke my leg one time with a broomstick, It wasn't no people from New York and California and Hollywood there. And then if a person showed up saying, hey, Brandon, we can make you famous and we can make you a star and we can make you successful and we can make, it all worthwhile. The people from Hollywood, New York, and California. Man, a lot of strangers said, man, that mess would be fake. Because it was like, what would look real stupid is, you growed up in the projects, Brandon. You growed up in the hood. You growed up, your birth certificate say Bessemer, Alabama. You growed up in Bessemer, Alabama. Then you moved to Birmingham. Then as soon as you got old enough to move out, you moved out of Birmingham, I think it was in the year 2004, the same year you got your marriage license certificate, they say. In the year 2004, you moved to the city of Warrior, Alabama. Being the head of household, your first apartments in the city of Warrior, Alabama, they say, And I said, that's what the problem is with so many people who, are strangers who came to Georgia. It was like so many strangers came to Georgia kissing people ass in Atlanta and stuff, hanging with people who was never there for them. You know, they said that's what's stupid. It was like when a person get famous, it's very fake because a person start hanging with people from Atlanta, New York, California, Hollywood, and other places. You know, people you don't even know, strangers. That's why it's about strangers. People who got way more money than you. People who never needed you. Basically, people who don't care about you. Because if them people got way more money than you, if them people never needed you, if them people been doing that stuff since way before you was ever even heard of, those strangers would have never been your friend from the start. Because those strangers were part of a group of strangers who only cared about getting money and getting famous and getting rich and all of that and all of that. And if it was a way of making money from you or a stranger, then using you, you know, the same way so many other strangers was used, is what some of the strangers wanted. And I said no, you know. Me, myself, I said no, you know. Because, you know, so many strangers never saved their virginity for the purpose of being married. You know, so many strangers never said no to New York, to Hollywood, to California, you know, to the record companies, to the movie business, you know, to the stage, you know, all of that and all of that, you know. You know, it's the crazy part about it. It be some strangers claiming being security. Don't believe none of them. None of these strangers is security. None of these strangers is being security. Them strangers just want credit for claiming being security and protecting me. None of those strangers are protecting me. None of those strangers are security for me. Any of them strangers claiming being security are strangers who just want you liking them for claiming being protectors of me. Any of the strangers claiming being security are liars and they not security. Those people are strangers claiming being security because those people want the look of being brave or being a hero. I don't know any of them strangers. So, you know, first of all, I gotta say it like that, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, if any girls or any ladies or any females who are strangers was told of anybody being my brothers or my tribe or my family or my security or my people and stuff like that, then those people probably had attempts of having sex with you, which is why I'm telling you now, those people are not my family. Those people are not my security. Those people are not my team. Those people are not protectors of me. Those people are people who are strangers who tried using my name in association and tried using any kind of, you know, claims of knowing me and stuff like that, and tried using me as a way of gaining access to underage girls and all of that stuff, into people who are strangers who claim being in love with me, because they say a lot of strangers claim being in love with me. They say a lot of strangers have claims of being in love with me, you know. And they say that's the crazy part about it. They say a lot of strangers have claims of being in love with me. They're like, what does that mean? They say a lot of strangers have claims of being in love with me because it was some kind of identity theft situation which happened. And it's about strangers, you know. It was like some strangers. I'm talking about strangers, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about myself, and I'm talking about strangers. So no, they say it's not a crime talking about yourself or Brandon. And it's not a crime talking about strangers, Brandon. But you know what is a crime, Brandon? Identity theft. If a stranger was using identities and was not the identity of the same person or what the identity was used for, then a stranger did a crime of using an identity of what an identity was not supposed to be used for. And so who you talking about, Brandon? I'm talking about myself and a stranger. And the reason I'm talking about myself is because I was sexually abused, you know. And like, are you mad, Brandon? Yes, I'm mad. You would sound like a fool if you were sexually abused and said you was not mad. Then people would think, oh, you liked being sexually abused. Then why are you not saying that you are mad? So, you know, I'm saying that I am mad. I am mad because I was sexually abused. I do not like being sexually abused. Which is why I am mad. You understand? And they said, you know, and it was like, and that's the crazy part about it, you know, because it was like, did you tell, you know, and Randy, yes, I'm in the city of Macon, Georgia right now. And Macon, Georgia, they say it's in BIBB County. And BIBB County is a county in Macon, Georgia. And they said it's a lot of videos, this, you know, that my YouTube page has and all of this stuff. And they said, you know, Macon, Georgia and BIBB County in the state of Georgia look like trash right now. And they said, why does Macon, Georgia, BIBB County in the state of Georgia look like trash right now? They say, if all of these reports of Brandon Johnson being sexually abused because a stranger used the identity of a Brandon's personal marriage license certificate, and if there's no evidence of BIBB County doing something about the stranger who sexually abused Brandon, then BIBB County looks like trash. If there's no evidence of the state of Georgia doing something about the stranger who sexually abused Brandon, then the state of Georgia looks like trash. If there's no evidence of Macon, Georgia doing something about the stranger who sexually abused Brandon, then Macon, Georgia looks like trash. Because all of them look scared of the stranger who sexually abused Brandon. You mean to tell me the whole Macon, Georgia scared of the stranger who sexually abused me? You mean to tell me the whole BIBB County is scared of the stranger who sexually abused me? You mean to tell me the whole state of Georgia is scared of the stranger who sexually abused me? And when I say the whole Macon city, I'm talking about, you know, the people who claim being the police and the mayor and the government, you know, the local government, you know, the people whose job they say it is to do something about the stranger who sexually abused me. So, you know, I'm not talking about the citizens or the people of the city, you know. I'm talking about the people who it seems was put in a position of doing a job and have failed at doing the job that, you know, it's saying the people were supposed to be doing. Well, they say, you know, when Brandon told all this stuff, you can't blame Brandon for it. He's supposed to be mad. And Brandon's supposed to tell. It's no way of blaming Brandon. It's like, what the city of Macon gonna do about the stranger who sexually abused Brandon? Brandon said it was a stranger who sexually abused him. What the city of Macon gonna do about it? Brandon said a stranger sexually abused him. What BIBB County law enforcement agency gonna do about it? You know, the BIBB County Law Enforcement Center. If a resident of the city of Macon in the county of, you know, BIBB County, Georgia, reported multiple times that a stranger sexually abused him. Is Bibb County law enforcement agency scared of the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon? Has Bibb County law enforcement agency been punked by the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon? Has Bibb County law enforcement agency bowed down to the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon? It's the way it seems. Is Bibb County law enforcement agency terrified by the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon? Because, if Bibb County law enforcement agency is as big and bad as Bibb County law enforcement agency claims to be, then why hasn't Bibb County law enforcement agency did something about the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon? And if the stranger who sexually abused a Brandon is a female, is they saying that the whole Bibb County law enforcement agency is scared of a female who sexually abused the Brandon? The whole Bibb County law enforcement agency is they saying that the whole Bibb County law enforcement agency is scared of the female who sexually abused the Brandon? If the stranger was a female. It's about strangers, right? Bibb County looking like trash right now. Macon, Georgia looking like trash. Georgia looking like trash. The legal system. The local law enforcement agency. What do they call it? The city. I'm not really that smart. I don't really know about politics like that. But I think they said like, is it like a mayor or something like that? A mayor or something, or a local law enforcement office. And it was like, man, this boy got so many videos on his YouTube page about being sexually abused and saying that it is a stranger. He keeps saying it's about strangers, it's about strangers, it's about strangers. He don't know who the person is. It's a stranger. So, since he's saying it's about strangers and he don't know who the stranger is and it's a stranger, man, it's like making Georgia look real bad right now, the law enforcement agency, This boy got these pictures up here like this and stuff like that. This boy had his leg broken, all of this stuff that happened to him. This boy got records of being a mental health patient ever since elementary school. And the crazy part is, it seems some stranger who claimed being a female had sexually abused him in the city of Macon, Georgia. And he told multiple times that a stranger sexually abused him. And what Bibb County gonna do about it? What Bibb County law enforcement agency gonna do about it? About the stranger who sexually abused him. Is Bibb County law enforcement agency against strangers sexually abusing a Brandon? We need evidence. Is Bibb County Superior Court against strangers sexually abusing a Brandon? We need evidence. Is the state of Georgia, the prosecutors and stuff, against strangers sexually abusing a Brandon? We need evidence. We need evidence if the state of Georgia is against females sexually abusing a Brandon. We need evidence if the state of Georgia is against, a stranger. This is about strangers. We need evidence if the state of Georgia is against strangers claiming being females sexually abusing a Brandon. We need evidence if the state of Georgia is against the sexual abuse. We need evidence if Bibb County is against a stranger claiming being a female sexually abusing a Brandon. We need evidence, if the city of Macon is against a stranger sexually abusing a Brandon. We need evidence if the state of Georgia is against strangers sexually abusing a Brandon. We need evidence if the state of Georgia is against strangers sexually abusing a person who was a mental health patient ever since elementary school. You know, a Brandon was a mental health patient ever since elementary school. It's not a plan or a scam that he created after getting to the city of Macon in the year of 2014. Now, this is a picture way before he came to Macon. He was a mental health patient way before he came to Macon. So, you know, Macon needs evidence of being against a stranger who sexually abused a Brandon. Bibb County needs evidence of being against a stranger who sexually abused a Brandon. You know, the state of Georgia needs evidence of being against a stranger who sexually abused a Brandon. You know, it's what they say. It's what they say. You know, unless Bibb County law enforcement, you know, is scared of the stranger who sexually abused a Brandon. You know, unless Macon City government is scared of the stranger who sexually abused a Brandon. You know, unless the state of Georgia is scared of the stranger who sexually abused a Brandon. Can Macon City, Georgia prove not being scared of the stranger who sexually abused a Brandon? Can Bibb County prove not being scared of the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon? Can the state of Georgia prosecutor prove not being scared of the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon? Because according to this video, a Brandon proved not being scared of the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon. So it seems there's a lot of strangers who need to be bowing down. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of these fake police going around bullying people and stuff like that. But when a mental health patient who's been a mental health patient ever since elementary school named Brandon Johnson told multiple times that a stranger sexually abused him, what an arrest of the stranger is. What a court date of the stranger is. What the charges of the stranger is. You know, is the stranger gonna be charged for sexually abusing a Brandon? Is the stranger gonna be locked up for sexually abusing a Brandon? Is the stranger gonna be locked up for using the identity of a Brandon's marriage license certificate? Because it's way too much evidence in way too many videos, and everyone, you know, the strangers that a Brandon has talked to seems to know about it. And everyone knows, the police, you know, all the strangers know, Bibb County law enforcement, the police know that a Brandon told that a stranger sexually abused him. The Bibb County Superior Court knows that a Brandon told that a stranger sexually abused him. So if it's the job of the law enforcement agency in the Bibb County Court and, you know, all of that stuff of pressing charges against strangers who sexually abused a mental health patient, then it seems we need evidence of Bibb County charging a stranger who sexually abused the Brandon. It seems we need evidence of the state of Georgia charging a stranger who sexually abused the Brandon. It seems we need evidence of the city of Macon charging the person who sexually abused the Brandon. It seems we need evidence. You know, is what they say. You know, they say a stranger can't laugh at a person who's been sexually abused ever since elementary school, being a mental health patient with record after record after record of medical reports of my own mental health records from a lot of doctors ever since elementary school, middle school, and high school. All of the evidence of my mental health records, and that I'm supposed to be mad because being mad is the right response and the normal response to being sexually abused ever since I was a child. So they say, you know, it seems someone in the city of Macon, some stranger did something wrong. You know, if there's a mayor in a city government, then some stranger in the city government did something wrong. If the stranger has not been charged for sexually abusing a Brandon. You know, they say some stranger in Bibb County did something wrong if there is a county government and the stranger who sexually abused the Brandon has not been charged. You know, they said some stranger did something wrong if it's a state government and the stranger who sexually abused a Brendan has not been charged. Then, you know, they said some stranger did something wrong. Some stranger did something wrong in the city government. Some stranger did something wrong in the county government. Some stranger did something wrong in the state government. You know, is what they say. And they say it is a such thing as a federal government. And they say the federal government, you know, is a, you know, they say the federal government gave the job to the state government of making sure that the county and the city government presses charges and locks up the person who is the stranger who sexually abused a Brandon. And that the job of locking the stranger up must be did. Because I told multiple times, is what they say. And they say if it's a girl who is the stranger, or a lady who is the stranger, or a woman who is the stranger, she must be arrested and locked up and charged with the crime of sexually abusing a Brandon, of using his marriage license certificate, and of doing crimes against a Brandon. They say. And they say a lot of strangers know of it. Because it's video after video after video after video of me telling. And it's video evidence and photos and pictures of all of it and all of it, you know. And since this video is about strangers, you know, about strangers, you know, they say it is no way of knowing a stranger if a stranger is a stranger and sexually abused me. Then all I know is it was a stranger. And I used no names because a stranger being a stranger means I do not know the name of the stranger who sexually abused me. I don't know what that sound was about. It just had made that sound. I thought the video had stopped, and I'm glad the video didn't stop because it's more to say. I think it's wrong and crazy the way if a stranger was a lady, a female, a woman with a vagina and sexually abused me, then after I told all of these times, I'm still waiting for the stranger to be arrested. I'm still waiting for the stranger to go to jail. I'm still waiting for the stranger to be charged. Because they say the stranger has to be arrested. They say the stranger has to be charged. They say the stranger has to be locked up. They say it is the city, the county, and the state's job of arresting and locking up the stranger who sexually abused me. They say if the stranger is a lady, a woman, or a female and has a vagina, the stranger still has to be locked up. The stranger still has to be arrested. The stranger still has to go to jail, possibly prison. The stranger still has to be charged with the crime of sexually abusing a Brandon. Is what they say, So, making it real clear, this video is not a threat. I'm not making a threat, This video is not talking about, anyone other than myself, directly or indirectly, or in any kind of code or any other kind of stuff, because the strangers who had sexually abused me are strangers and I don't know them. So it is no way of directly or indirectly using the name and identity of a stranger who I do not know. And since the stranger is a criminal and the stranger is a stranger who sexually abused me, then the stranger is supposed to be locked up and arrested and charged with the crime of sexually abusing me because I told and I made it public multiple times telling, So, after all these years, my face from being abused and sexually abused and, from being a mental health patient ever since elementary school, with all of the evidence of all of the doctors since elementary school, middle school, high school, and all of that, they say, is Bibb County scared of the stranger who sexually abused me? Is the city of Macon scared of the stranger who sexually abused me? Is the state of Georgia scared of the stranger who sexually abused me? They say it's not about me. It's about, can the city of Macon government, can the county of Macon government, and can the state of Georgia government prove not being scared of the stranger who sexually abused me? can the city, state, and county government prove not being scared of the stranger who sexually abused me by locking up the stranger who sexually abused me? They say.